We're live. We are now live.
All right.
So I'm going to go to Twitter and I'm going to post the our channel link, not like this particular. Let's see. Live stream. Here we go. Oh, it's a little behind. All right. So here I have the link to this live stream. So now let me go to Twitter. Twitter's really slow today, man, to load things and to react.
Hmm.
We are live. New link. Now see if that one's sent. Wait for Twitter to load. Man, Twitter, it really is. Everything's like delayed.
Hmm. I had trouble loading, but I figured it was just me connecting to the Wi-Fi in this hotel this morning. But
So it is Twitter.
I wasn't on Twitter. I was on a different message board, but it was
All right, all right.
everything was taking longer to load. Okay.
So are you do you have it in your browser?
No.
Okay. It says we have an eyeball. We have one eyeball.
Okay. But not me. So.
It's not me. All right. To our one eyeball, welcome. We're getting ready to start here. We're going to start. I'm going to flip the intro and let it roll.
Okay.
Rebound into the hands of Hunter. And Virginia with the all-time turnaround title.
Good morning, Wahoo Nation. It's time to wake up and get ready for the Duke game. You know, Duke's not what they were, but Duke is always Duke, and it's always a big day for us. And I am here with my partner, Val Prohaska, to break it down for you. Welcome, Val.
Hey, it's good to be here. So there's nothing quite like a Duke game to make us forget the Florida State game.
What game?
Atonement. Atonement is at hand. Tony Bennett's good at this. Beating Duke will make up for a lot of demons in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Beating Duke is always, always, always a good thing. So, game's on tonight, and we're just looking forward to it. So, thank you all for joining us.
Yeah. So the game is 8 o'clock Eastern time. That would be five
Yep.
o'clock Washington State time or California time for those of you who might be in the great state of California. And then that would be 6 o'clock, I think, in Texas. I know
I
we have some
think they're 1 hour behind. I
yeah,
think Texas 1 hour behind. So,
and
be
then
7 o'clock for St. Louis and those folks. But they're they'll be lucky to have
7
power.
o'clock. 7 o'clock.
Still an awful
in
lot of
Texas.
people, Game's not really going to matter to them, I guess.
Yeah, and it's going to be on ESPN. It's their feature game for today. And I think ESPN is going to get a very good game tonight. I think it's going to be extremely competitive. Duke, they've been down this year. They've been under 500 at times. They're back above 500 now, though. And they had the big news this past week that their best player, Jalen Johnson, has opted out of the rest of the season to prepare for the NBA draft. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I think a lot has been said about that. That was probably unfair, including by me. And also, they played Wake Forest Wednesday night, and they put the hammer down on Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. So they clearly have not given up on the season, which is another stupid thing that a lot of people suggested. Maybe they had done, and I was part of that speculation too. But clearly, the Wake game shows that they have not, and in fact, they might be playing harder. So there's now the question: was Johnson's opting out addition by subtraction, which is a possibility. That's something else we're going to explore here in a minute. Every episode we do a Who Spotlight, and instead of spotlighting one particular player today, we're going to talk about the Beekman-Clark backcourt, because there's been a lot of discussion, at least around Twitter and probably on the message boards and here and there, about that pairing and if it is serving the team well or if it's holding the team back. So I just noticed that my MacBook is plugged in, but the battery is not charging. It's not operating on power. So that's interesting. Is it plugged in? It's plugged in? Well, very interesting. Anyway, sorry about that digression. So, Val, what do you think about that backcourt?
We're going to do the backcourt first.
Sure.
Beekman's going to be Beekman's a valuable addition to this team, but there's an awful lot of people who are trying to make the case that this should be Beekman should be starting and running the point, and that Clark is too profligate and makes too many bad mistakes and bonehead turnovers, and I don't see it. I like Beekman. I like having him here. He's somebody that Bennett recruited. He's going to be great, but I don't think at this point he's assertive enough to lead the team. He's certainly taking a backseat to Clark, which I would expect. And I see as a maturity in that he's letting the game come to him, but I don't think he's anywhere ready to run the team and take over, which is what some of the most vociferous critics of Clark are suggesting. So we're going to have to figure out some other way to maybe get more out of Beekman, because Beekman ain't scoring. For whatever else he's doing, he's having trouble finishing at the rim. He's missing his threes. He's shooting worse than Clark. So he doesn't add anything, scoring-wise. And he's a big step down from Clark.
Yeah, early in the season, he was finishing very well at the rim. And, of course, so is Kihei. And neither one of them is doing nearly as well at the rim as they were starting out. Beekman, he's not doing much worse than... Actually, Beekman and Clark are shooting virtually identical from the three-point line. Kihei's 298, Beekman's 296. And that's overall. That's not just ACC play. I'm just looking at the KenPom page. Sure. And, Clark, he's got his legion of idiot haters, and he's had it since he started, really. People who are eager to jump on every mistake that he makes. They're eager to jump on everything that he does wrong and call it it's like a referendum on his entire value to the team, and it's fucking stupid. And it's one of the worst tendencies of our society today, and you see it in sports, and sports fans are rife with doing it. For years, every game Virginia lost was a referendum on Virginia basketball, and we do this to people and we do this to teams, and it's stupid, and it's just negative and destructive, and Kihei's going to make mistakes. But, I don't want to jump negative, but have you watched Reese lately? he's making a lot of mistakes too.
The same ones.
And some are the same
ones.
ones. So maybe if the 2 point guards are making the same freaking mistakes, there's something that's forcing them to make those mistakes. And, like Florida State, there was that 5 minutes of the second half. Kihei was breaking, he was getting a step on his man, and he's breaking free to the rim. And it was just him and the rim, and he was making his shots, and we came back. And then, when the turnaround happened, and it went back to the way it was, when Kihei was getting a step on his man, there was traffic around the rim. So Florida State, they readjusted, and they got back to presenting traffic. And that's the thing with Kihei, because of his size. Teams can defend him by, you kind of collapse on the lane. You don't necessarily converge on the ball, but you collapse on the lane and you kind of surround him. And the announcer was yelling, you can't help off of Hauser, don't help off of Hauser. But the thing is, what I'm seeing is Kihei, yeah, the guys are open out there, but he can't get them the ball. And when he was getting the ball to Hauser or whoever, he's having to loft the ball over the top. And when you have to loft the ball over the top, what does that mean?
Well, it accentuates his the size issue.
But what is what is the tactical result of having to loft the pass to the man over the top?
Well, it's slower.
It's slower, and it gives the defense a chance to recover, so they can recover back. Mm-hmm. So you're not getting the usual benefit of driving in and kicking it out, which is that the defense collapses. The ball travels faster than the men. Usually when you drive and you kick, you're driving in and you're doing a bounce pass or you're doing a chest pass. So it's a direct pass. If you have to go over the top, and that's what Florida State did to us. So they could collapse on him, surround him, give him resistance shooting at the rim, force him to make these decisions. Like I was watching, there were several times he drove in there and Jay was wide open in the corner. And, why is he not making that? He's trying to go to the rim when there's that wide open man in the corner. It's not like he lacks vision. It's not like he's selfish. It's not like he can't or doesn't know how to make that pass or make that read. And I think it's...
Well, it could be that, he feels he's the guy to make that play. I mean, if you remember...
horse shit. That's horse shit.
Well, I don't know. He's making the play.
I'm the guy to make the shot, so I'm going to take it in against the defense when I have Jay Huff wide open in the corner. No, that's not how he thinks.
Okay, well then you tell me why he didn't pass to Huff.
I'm telling you why he didn't pass that is because the defense is cutting off the passing lane.
Well, then Huff's
he looks over there and there's someone between him and Huff. So it's Huff is wide open in the corner, but you can't get him the ball. Hauser's wide open in the arc, but you can't get him the ball without lofting it over the top. And so what the teams are doing is they're not allowing Kihei good options. And so he's being forced to choose between bad options. And he's not, and in that context, he still often chooses the worst option. But I'm not going to get on a guy and I'm not going to blame a guy for making bad decisions in poor situations. If you give a man no good options, I'm not going to blame him for not making the best choice. Because, what does it matter? Really, this is something that works for people in life too. You have people in life situations where they have no good options. Don't blame them for not making good decisions.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm a Kihei lover. I wrote fifth game in. I said, my initial thought on him, which is still the same, is, it doesn't matter. It's not a question of if Kihei is going to become your favorite ball player in in UVA history. It's a matter of when. So I've liked the guy forever. But, if he's consistently, but he's the guy who puts himself in bad situations. You know, he's the guy who can get into the lane when he wants, and if he doesn't have a good option when he gets into the lane, he's the guy who put him into it. So
Okay, well,
maybe he's got to be more careful about
what do we
getting
want
out.
him to do? Stand out there on the
Well,
perimeter and pass the ball around? You can't
well,
just do that
I
either.
want him getting in, but if what you're saying is that he's getting into the lane and teams have learned how to defend him and they are willing to leave quality shooters open to defend him, and he doesn't have an option or he doesn't have an answer to that, then maybe the answer is don't do that as much. We have to figure something else out. But if he can get into the lane anytime he wants, But if he can't do anything, then maybe it's time to think, let's do something else. And I don't know what. I mean,
and what? Yeah, exactly. This is my point.
Well,
this is my point with the critics. They all say things like what you just said, or don't play Kihei or this or that, and like the Kihei Beekman backcourt, the pairing is hurting us, and so we should start something else. Well, who? What are the options? The options are no better. So
yeah.
you go with what you think gives you the best potential upside, and the best potential upside is you try to penetrate. Is you look. If we're not like. One of the more valid criticisms that I've seen of the Beekman-Kihei backcourt is that neither one of them is shooting well from three. Neither one of them is shooting aggressively from three. And teams are sagging back off of them, basically giving them the shot to plug up the lane. And so it's taking away the space that the other players need to operate. And it's a valid criticism. It is a valid criticism.
The one option that I can see right off the bat is maybe going back and trying to figure out if Wolde Tensai can start. He's up and down, but he played 12 minutes against Florida State, had 12 points.
Yeah,
I mean he can get hot, he can shoot, he is a threat, and teams have to respect that.
How many points did he give up?
So his
the thing is, athletically, Wolde Tensai is a borderline ACC player, and he's getting killed a lot in one-on-one defensive matchups. There's just a lot of
yeah, I'm very aware of that. But
he makes mistakes.
What we're looking for is options. He represents an option because he forces the defense to do something different, which I don't think anybody else does. I mean, Morcell's not going to do it. Beekman's not doing it. So, if you're looking for an option, he's the only player we have who's going to dictate to the offense. And yeah, his defense has been pretty bad. I mean, he had that play against, Polite when I think he was expecting Huff to cover for him, but Polite just basically walked to the basket. As Huff moved out of the way. And, the answer for that is more communication. That could have just been a playing error. He never did anything as stupid as that last year when he was getting more minutes. He's getting called. He's making some stupid, handsy sorts of fouls. But, if we're looking for an option, if we're looking for something that changes, he's maybe the only guy who can do it.
Right. So...
Or we're going to have games like that, where we're going to really struggle with bigger, stronger, more physical teams. And we just, write off the season at that point. I mean...
Yeah, and this is one of the problems, where our backcourt is constructed is, we do have a ball handling deficit. Team ball handling is one of our weaknesses. And two of the worst offenders for that in terms of not having a positive handle are Morcell and Wolde Tensai for their position.
Right.
Their handles are subpar at the ACC level. And so if you take Beekman or Clark off the floor, all of a sudden your team ball handling is not good.
Well, that's true. But if we've got 2 point guards, I would not expect them to ever be off the court at the same time. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really not a scenario that one of those two isn't going to be.
Well, no, what I'm saying is if you don't have them both out there, If you take one of them off the floor and you replace them with Will Detensa or Morcell, you're losing a lot of ball handling, and now you're at a situation where you only have one good ball handler on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's not enough.
I know, but that was the issue last year. We only had one good ball.
Right, and we still.
Braxton Key was okay.
All right, so.
So I don't.
I want to. We've spent a lot of time on this. It's almost 6:30. I want to get into talking about Duke and this game, because I think that's what we need to move on. And I think we've brought up the issues that are involved here, and that are, people are talking about, and there's, it's a difficult situation. We need, at least one of those guys to decide that I'm a scorer, I'm a shooter, I'm going to shoot the ball. And, maybe we need to go spend more time with just one of them on the floor. Give Kihei 10 minutes instead of 4 minutes of rest. See how Reese does when he's running the ball. But and it's something we're going to have to deal with today, because Duke, their defensive scheme, they want to do pretty much the same things that Florida State does. Where they want to play aggressive perimeter, pressure the ball handlers that pressure the perimeter, deny the passing lanes. It looks like they're going to switch screens again. Maybe not as much as they have in the past, because they've got Matthew Hurt and Mark Williams playing a lot inside, and Hurt's, you don't really want Hurt on your point guard, on the other team's point guard and stuff, so they may not switch as much, and but it's going to be an issue. And then offensively, they want to get in transition, but other than that, they're playing mostly now off of Matthew Hurt. He's a 6'10" sophomore, kind of a. I don't know if you remember, what was his name? Ryan Kelly played at Duke back around 2010, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Who was about similar, can post up, can play in a perimeter, kind of a Frank Kaminsky type maybe. He's a pick and pop threat, and right now he's one of the leaders in the ACC in 3-point shooting.
He's really good. I think the game is. Do you remember the Bill Simmons Ewing theory?
Yeah.
Which basically says that many times, if you lose your best player, then inexplicably teams get better, and that can be for several reasons. You mentioned addition by subtraction. Sometimes teams realize that they can't rely on one guy to bail them out, and everybody has to step up their game.
Mm-hmm.
But this seems to me to be a classic Ewing theory trap game. Jalen Johnson was certainly a load. He was a wonderful talent, but he never really got going in his Duke career. And he's called it quits. He played 8 minutes against Wake. And, maybe this is everybody else realizing that they've got to step up a bit. And, Hurt has made the transition from, promising freshman to
right.
the guy who can handle the load, as an ACC sophomore.
And it's not like without Johnson, Duke is hurting for talent.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
They have on their roster now, they have 6 players who are more highly rated, consensus-rated recruits than our most highly rated recruit, who is Jabri Abdur-Rahim, who's number 36 in the RSCI, which is it takes everybody's ratings, combines them, and makes a consensus list. Jabri is our highest rated player at number 36. Duke, without Jalen Johnson, has Matthew Hurt, who was number 12 in his class. DJ Stewart, number 24. Wendell Moore, number 25. Jeremy Roach, number 20. That's 4 top 20 guys right there. Mark Williams, number 25. So now you have 5 top 25 guys. And then Jamin Brakefield was number 33. So that is 6 players. All right. And then the other 2, they have 2 more who were more highly rated than our second most highly rated player, who's Reese Beekman, who I think was number 57. So they have Joey Baker was 37, and Henry Coleman was number 49. They have 8 consensus top 50 national recruits on their roster. The only guy on their roster who plays who was not top 50 is Jordan Goldwire, who's a rotation point guard, who was a 3-star. I mean, who's comparable to, definitely more highly rated than PA was.
Yeah.
So, let's not cry for Duke having lost their quote best player, because he wasn't best player by that wide of a margin. So when you have 8 top 50 guys who are coming together and each putting in a little more effort, that has a lot of impact.
Sure it does. And
I think they might play a cleaner game, a more more execution, more overall movement, more of a scheme without Johnson. And really, he wasn't playing that well offensively. Where he gave them something was defensively. He was really good at turning defense into offense, which is something that Duke does and that they've always done, and it's something we've always been built on stopping. And this year, we're really not doing a great job of stopping teams, especially good teams, from turning defense into offense.
Right.
Florida State killed us with it. Gonzaga killed us with it. San Francisco hurt us with it. So teams are able to turn defense into offense. Now Duke still is able to turn defense into offense. One of my players to watch is Mark Williams. He's a 6'11" freshman out of Norfolk, Virginia. We recruited him, not all that hard, but we recruited him. He has stepped into the starting lineup, and he's had a big impact on their defense. He's not as much of an offensive player, but he's had a really big impact on their defense. Let's pause it here. He's number 15 there. You can see he's got his back to us in this clip. He's guarding the man on the corner. And so watch number 15 here. And that's who you're looking for in all of these clips. Collapses. Hands up, bothers, blocks, and boom. And here again, his man's in the corner. Closes down on the drive. And this is rim protector. This is the first 3 possessions of the game Wednesday night. And now we're going to see, pretty decent post move. Nice touch finishing with some contact. So he's had a good impact on them. And he's kept their defense good. And he gives them a presence in the lane. And they're still getting steals and stuff. So that's one of the things we need to watch out for. And Mark Williams is one of the players to watch out for. Now we're going to take a look at Matthew Hurt. Again, I think this is their first offensive possession of the game. Pick and pop 3. All right, let's go back to that one. All right, it doesn't even really set much of a screen. It's just kind of a slide by. Wake reacts as if it's a ball screen, and they switch it. And now you've got a little 6'2" guy trying to bother Matthew Hurt's shot. Hurt's shooting like 48%. And there's that was Jamin Brakefield hitting a 3. So Hurt's he's hurting you there. In the post up in an unsettled situation, find an open man. So I think if we try to post double him, that you're going to see him finding open shots. Now Duke as a team, they don't shoot the 3 that well. Other than Hurt and Joey Baker, their percentages are low. But they have a couple of guys, and DJ Stewart is one of them, who pretty deadly on the wide open 3s, the kick out 3s, 3s off of offensive rebounds, that kind of thing. So DJ Stewart is someone to watch.
And we've seen Duke rain holy, poor shooting Duke teams rain holy fire against the Cavaliers. So,
right.
Those percentages, as far as I'm concerned, go right out. So they did look very good against Wake, but Wake, of course, had just lost a brain fart game was coming off a brain fart loss game to Florida State. They've beat Wake twice, they beat Notre Dame twice, but before beating Wake, they'd lost to UNC, in a true someone's got to win this game to get an NCAA bid. They lost it. They lost to Miami just recently. I mean, this is a team that's still struggling for issues, regardless of what the talent is. This is you never overlook Duke.
You
and
can't.
I don't think that's going to let them. But this is not a Duke team that I'm afraid of. I mean, I was afraid of Gonzaga, and I knew that, we had talked about it, a couple of times, that we just didn't match up well against Florida State. And Florida State, everything that we said last week on our podcast came true, So I'm not seeing the same matchup issues. I'm going to let Hurt, if he's going to stand outside and pop threes, let him. He can. He's good, but you can't have Huff chasing him.
Let a 48% shooter stand out there and pop threes.
Yeah.
How does that work when teams do that with Jay or Sam Hauser?
Hauser's not going to be on him. Hauser's going to be on Coleman.
What I'm saying is, Hurt's a shooter of the caliber of Jay Huff and Sam Hauser. You can't just let those guys stand out there and rain threes. He's going to hit them.
Yeah,
he's going to go for 30.
So he's not going to hit 30, but he hits.
He'll hit 30. He will hit 30 if you take that approach to him. Sam Hauser will hit 30 if you take that approach to him. Yeah. They've done it.
I don't know. I think, I want, as you said, there's a bunch of other talent, and I want Huff protecting the rim. So if you think that he could, if you put Huff on Coleman, and you let Hauser chase Hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. See, I'm thinking. I agree with you there. It's not like you just let him stand out there, but I think that you want Hauser on him, and you want to keep Jay with Mark Williams because he can stay in. Coleman is a guy, he's not a pick and pop threat. Of course, all these guys become pick and pop threats against UVA, but
they do.
He's not a pick and pop threat. He's a bull inside. So, yeah, you want Huff. I would want Huff guarding one of those guys and Hauser guarding Hurt. That which also might lead Duke to have Hurt post up more rather than. Although Hauser's not great defending the pick and pop either, so he's probably going to need help if we do that. And if they do the pick and pop to the empty side, there's not going to be any help. So it's tough. Look, they can hurt us with the pick and pop, and they can hurt us with turning defense into offense. They're a good offensive rebounding team, and they're good at kicking it back out to those shooters. So wide open shooters is another area where they can hurt us. And it's not like I'm afraid of Duke, but I just a few minutes ago listed off their talent.
Their talent. You're right, and it is. It's
so they're the kind of team that we've watched them many games, and they make a lot of mistakes, and they look like crap in a lot of ways and all, and brain farts. But if they come in and they play, they're a threat to put together a smart game in any particular game. They could come in, they could have one really smart game all season, and if that's against you, they're trouble. And how often have we seen Duke raise their level of play mentally against Virginia? Because K demands it. He's got a hard-on for Virginia. He always has had a hard-on for Virginia.
Yeah, and and that speaks as to who's the top dog in the ACC. We've always talked. We've got the target.
He's had a hard-on for Virginia since 1983.
Well, okay.
It's personal.
Okay. But it doesn't matter. I mean, we are the team that you do raise your game for, but by the same token, we don't typically make, tons of brain farts ourselves. We play well. We play within ourselves. We played a better offensive rebounding team in North Carolina.
We did well.
And it was a complete team effort. I mean, Murphy was active on the backboards. Beekman had 8 boards. against UNC. So it's going to have to be the same thing. If this is a good team on the boards, we can't. All 5 players have to go back and defend and go for the boards. And we're not looking for the fast break, so we ought to be doing that. And I'm pretty sure we can probably keep Duke off the boards. It's always you make more shots, you slow the other team down.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a game that we you and I probably circled on our calendar. What are the games we're looking forward to the most? Always looking forward to a game against Duke. This is
and the way we can hurt them.
I want it.
I think it's through patience and execution.
Sure.
Basically, traditional Bennett ball.
Yes.
I even would, I would give sides a try in this. I think I would probably start out the game with like a continuity ball screen, something with some ball screens, and see how they play the screens. I love the continuity ball screen for like the first couple of possessions in this, because you have guys that are doing screening on the weak side for each other away from the ball, and then you've got the ball screen over on this side. So you can play that, and you can watch and see how Duke is going to handle off-ball screens and ball screens.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be maybe they're not going to switch like they have in past years, because they're not quite as interchangeable as they've been. So if they're not going to switch all of that, then I would flip over to running sides and try running sides, because sides is at its best against young, inexperienced defenses, because those guys, they'll make mistakes. When you present them with a constant string of screens to have to deal with, they're going to make mental mistakes. Eventually, they're going to make a mistake, and then you get your open shot. That's what sides is designed to do.
Right.
And so this is a game where everybody knows how I feel about it, but this is a game that could be tailor-made for that offensive set. But I would see how they're going to handle screens before I go into it. If they're going to switch everything, then I would forget sides. I would forget the 3-man inside motion, and I would go with like I want to see us, damn it, against these teams that are going to switch all the screens. I want to see us use that strategically. I want to see us use screens to get matchups that we like, and then exploit those matchups. And we did that a couple years ago. I haven't seen us do that this year. We have a couple guys who should be able to exploit matchups, and
I mean that ought to be for Murphy. I mean, you ought to be able to get him on a smaller guy. And for people who haven't been to our website, Seattle did a really nice piece that we are making available to even non-friends of Who's Place. Just showing how you use the screen to get the matchup that you want, and it basically involves doing multiple screens to figure out if a team is committing to switching all the time. We ought to be able to dictate once we know that. So
exactly.
If you want to see some examples, some firm examples, Seattle gave you about 10 on our website. So
if you know a team's going to switch screens, you should be able to have a game plan that gets the matchups that you want, because it's just a matter of running an action that brings two guys together. If you want this guy on this guy, you bring them together, and you get the switch, and now you've got the matchup you want. And then, see, the key is that what I saw against Florida State, what I've seen most of the time this year, when we have a matchup, like even when we do have a matchup where we're trying to exploit it, we're not isolating. Like, get the rest of the guys the hell out of the way. And we got Jay Huff is being fronted by a small guy. So the answer to that is go over the top. But we've got somebody on the weak side hanging out near the lane, which brings this defender in there who can do the weak side help. You get everybody else up on the arc. We don't. That's what we like. That's where the 5-man, the 5 out was very promising, because you're going to get matchups and then you spread the floor so the teams can't help. But we never took it any farther. It ran into trouble and we just ditched it.
Yeah, well, that's off-ball movement, and we're not doing that well. I mean, we're just I see off, weak side screens, and they are the slowest, lamest moving things.
Hmm.
We're sauntering. It seems like our guys who are off ball sometimes just saunter through their moves, and it's driving me batty. But I've mentioned this a couple of times in the column I write. I could just put this on autofill. This offense looks stagnant. I mean, you got to run 3, 4, 5 hard steps to make your man move to cover you. But our guys it seems to me like it's practice pace. And I don't understand that. Because that seems to be a coaching thing. And it seems like it ought to be something you can light a fire under somebody's ass. You either run through these screens and run through your moves and dig hard to the opposing corner to clear your guy out, or, you either run thousands of wind sprints in practice or you sit.
Yeah,
And
I think a lot of
it
times
just seems slow to me. We're not clearing out,
I
and I
think a
think
lot of
that's a
times
thing to
slow
do.
looks like an effort issue when it's a mental thing, because when we're setting
Okay.
screens and guys are coming off screens, they don't. It's not like they're just going to a predetermined place. They're reading the defense, and if you're
Okay. Well,
slow on your reads and you're not sure on your reads, then you're not going to move with the decisiveness that you are. If you know, all right, this is where I go, you get there. And I think a lot of times, I think I've seen it with Casey, I've seen it with Reese. I think a lot of times the guys that are out there, they're trying to read, and so they're not, because like in the sides on those pin downs, you have three different places that you can go off of that screen based on how the defense defends it. And this is why it works so well with experienced players. When Malcolm Brogdon and Joe Harris and Kyle Guy, were in their last year or so where they knew this, they could make that read instantly. And if you're not sure, if you're slow on that read, you're kind of coming off the screen. You're trying to figure out, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And so a lot of times it's reps and it's film study. And again, we have a lot of young players doing this, and the guys, I don't know. The last thing, I really, really, really always hesitate to make an effort criticism, because for one thing, it's kind of insulting to the player. So if it's inaccurate, then you've just insulted this player. Um, but also, it can be, like I said, it can look that way, but be from different causes. So let's see. And there could be something to it, and I think because we're not seeing, like, for example, it stood out glaringly when Trey Murphy hit the floor a couple times for those loose balls, because you suddenly realize we're not really doing that much. So, and that's like your typical effort thing. But we box out, we help. I just think there's a lot of thinking going on out there. And
to get an argument from me, I mean, it's just, what are the things that we can do better?
mm-hmm.
And it just seems, that just seems to be it. We don't clear out, and I guess I kind of look at it, cheaply as like, okay, well, that was something I could have done.
Right.
I know how to clear out space, and it seems to me that I guess I'm not thinking that it's that difficult to read. If I want that right side to the lane clear, I'm not going to be there. Regardless of what it is I have to do. So it's frustrating. And I'm, neither of us are overly critical. I mean, we don't come here and rip any player, even if they've sucked, for their games. We've never ripped on, and that's one of the reasons why I like this, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I like this place, and I like what we're doing. I mean, let's face it, we had the gang that couldn't shoot straight last year, and it was still, we just didn't shoot well, and then we went on to talk about other things. We weren't, complaining about Morcell or Statman going, 1 for 6 or something like that, and having 18% shooting percentages from three. We don't really dwell on that. And these guys are playing harder. They're playing at a level that you and I never got to.
I know.
But it is just, we do spend a lot of time watching these games, and when you see the same thing game after game after game, it's like, well, either it's really hard or there's just something that these guys aren't getting.
Yeah, I mean, I've come to accept that we are a team that's got a lot of skill and talent, but we're not a complete team at all, and we have certain fundamental, immutable flaws as a team, and our opponents can either exploit those flaws or they can't. And if we play an opponent that can exploit those flaws, it's going to be bad. If we play an opponent that can't exploit those flaws, it's going to be bad for them. It's going to be bad for one team or the other.
Yeah.
And Gonzaga and Florida State are two teams that were tailor-made for exploiting our flaws. Virginia Tech, I don't know what happened there.
That's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing at home. This is why you have these games.
Right.
Is you're stuck playing your rival, and everything goes out the window. And let's face it, everybody except for maybe Baylor is going to lose to Gonzaga this year. And Florida State is what Hamilton's.
I think Florida State on the right night can beat Gonzaga.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are absolutely every bit as strong and long, and they are fast, and they defend. Oh yeah, they can do it.
Just their variance is so wide.
Yeah,
they
are.
And we saw it. We saw it in our game. Look at their variance in our game.
Sure.
And they flipped a switch. They came out at the start of the second half, a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit not locked in. They had their period that I've seen it in every one of the games I've watched. And we took a 20-something point deficit and we cut it to 7 in the space of a few minutes. And then they flipped the switch. And they went on a, what was it, 19-2 run?
Something like that. Yeah, it was
17-0. It was amazing what they did after that timeout when we cut it to 7.
Sure.
And so that variance in their play. So with them, it depends on how they play. Gonzaga, you can kind of count on. Their variance is less. Our variance is usually less. This year, it's a little more than it usually is. We're kind of a schizophrenic team. We go back and forth between being, a really good Bennett ball team and last year's can't shoot straight, turn the ball over team. But we also throw in this kind of schizo thing on the defensive side where we go between a Bennett ball defense and a team that can't defend transition and gives up offensive rebounds and gives up lots of open shots. There's like 4 potential outcomes there. Right. Bennett ball offense with Bennett ball defense, Bennett ball offense with lousy defense, lousy offense with Bennett. It's like,
yeah.
What are you going to get?
Sure.
So what are we going to get today? What's the prognosis?
I think that we're going to rebound after this. After the loss, we've had a week where we got our rear end spanked. I think we're the ones who are going to be learning the lesson. Duke's coming off this win against Wake. Woohoo! They're going to be up for us. We're traveling down there. Travel is hard. It's harder now than it was even before, even for a short little trip. So everything gets magnified. But I think these are the sorts of games that Bennett typically wins.
Mm-hmm.
That we got spanked, we learned our lesson. He's had very definite, lots and lots of images, film study to say, this was about as bad as you could play. And my prognosis is that I think we're going to come out looking better, looking sharper than we did, and I'm not sure that Duke has the ability to hurt us. there's going to be a guy who's going to get hot from three, and I think we'll weather it because we've got our own guys who can get hot from three. So
Yeah, I'm worried about the things that worry me about this game are the Duke variance, meaning we could get 100% Duke, and if we get 100% Duke, that's big trouble. The other thing I'm worried about is the whistle. Again, we're playing.
We're not going to complain about refs, but man,
it's a national television primetime game. We're the visiting team. If we get a big lead in the second half, early in the second half, I'm worried about that whistle. Because I'm telling you, the thing that happens, the whistle can change the game. They try to tighten it up, they try to get the game close, but then it can flip the aggressor. One team starts to think they can't do anything, the other team becomes aggressive, and so I'm worried about that. I would much rather see this game be nip and tuck all the way to the last few minutes than to see us get have a double-digit lead early in the second half. I think we have a better chance of winning that nip and tuck game than we do that game where we get a lead early in the second half. Just because of the way ACC referees referee a game. It has nothing to do with Virginia, it has nothing to do with Duke. It has to do with product management. The way ACC refs referee a national television game. So I worry about those two things. And the third thing that I'm worried about in this game is Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's one of those Twilight Zone places, like Castle Coliseum and a couple others, where it's just kind of a weird place and weird stuff happens there. Doesn't matter whether there's crazies there or not. Just weird stuff happens. And so that. But my prognosis, I agree with you. I think we're going to come out strong. I think we're going to come out and play well. I think Duke's probably too inexperienced to truly, and they have their own lineup roster flaws, and roster construction issues. So I don't think they're a complete enough team that can really exploit our flaws. And I do think they present some opportunities for us to execute and really hurt them on some things. So I think we're going to win a game. As a matter of fact, I don't think we're going to lose another game in the regular season. I think we're going to win out. We're going to win the ACC regular season, and then we're not going to go as deep into either one of the tournaments as an ACC regular season champion that only has, 2 league losses?
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not going to go as deep as a team with that kind of resume should go because of the flaws and the matchups issue. So that's my prognosis. I think we're going to win it pulling away late. It'll probably be a 2-possession game coming into the last 2 minutes, and then we'll probably win by 8.
Okay. Well, I don't really care how we win. I don't care how we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Win against Duke is a win against Duke. So I'd be perfectly fine with that. That's a wonderful outcome. I just want to see a W at the end and knock Duke down yet another peg this season.
Yeah,
that's all it's got to be for me. So,
all right. So, programming note: we will have another podcast, the WhoCast. I'm sure Monday it'll probably post. If not Monday, definitely Tuesday. So we'll be breaking down this game. Let's see what the Who's have upcoming. Let's see. Oh, I was on their KenPom page. So everybody, once you guys watch with us, let's all check it out together. There we go. All right. So we have Duke today. Yep, KenPom agrees with me. And then Wednesday, we're home against NC State. Monday, we're home for Miami. And then, wow, is that already next Saturday? No, it can't be. No, that's 2 Saturdays.
Miami's next Saturday, right?
Miami is Monday, according to this.
Okay.
According to this, we play Saturday today, Wednesday, Monday, Saturday. So we might see a makeup game in there somewhere. But we'll see. But as of right now, we have. So we'll be back. The next podcast, we'll recap this game and then we'll look ahead to NC State. All right. That'll be it. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good one. Enjoy the game. And we'll catch you soon.
All right. Wah wah.
Wahoo!